Okay, well, hello everyone. Hey, it's me, Professor Cañedo here, and this is going to be one of several videos that be providing for all of you for the rest of the semester. Many Some of these videos will be new, recorded during the course of this semester, and but quite a few others will be ones that I've done in previous semesters. So whether it was fall of last year, spring of 2015, there might be a couple that were done back in 2014. But for all intents and purposes, all of these videos are quite recent, and they'll give you more details in terms of what you need to know for the rest of the semester. All right. Well, this video this is for both History 108 and History 109. And both of you in these classes have to work on podcast journal assignments. I'll give you more details in just a bit, but basically the gist of it is that you're going to be listening to a history podcast from iTunes. So right off the bat, you need to have access to iTunes. So whether you have that on your computer, whether you have a laptop or a desktop or your mobile devices or access to a friend or a family member's computer, please everybody make sure you have access to iTunes in some form or another, so you can get access to these podcasts. And these podcasts are free; you don't have to pay for them. So it's not like you're paying extra to get the latest album from Megadeth or anything from AC/DC, or you want to backtrack, maybe get some of the Eagles albums, of course, or David Bowie albums, given in light of the tragic deaths of both Bowie and Glenn Frey. All right, but I'll give you more details in just a bit here. But right now, what I have for you here is the uh, uh, is uh, is of course the announcement section, and this is for those of you in History 109. And I've got History 108 queued up too on another tab here. So I'm going to toggle back and forth between History 108 and History 109. Those of you in History 108, of course, you have the USA type of colors here, and for those of you in History 109, you've got some more music type of symbolisms here, symbols here. Music will be quite a common theme in the History 109 class, as you've probably been able to detect for those of you in the 109 class. So I'll toggle back and forth between 108 and 109, and then of course we'll take a look at iTunes as well. And the software I'm using for this video is the Camtasia program. So what that does is that enables me to record, but you get to see what's on the computer screen. So whether it's Blackboard, or whether it's something else like YouTube or iTunes, any program, any program I have running on my computer, you'll see that instead of me, instead of El Profesor. So without further ado, let me quickly go over just some of the main points about what you have to do for this, and then we'll go ahead and go on into iTunes. So let me first start off with those of you in History 109. So those of you in History 109, you essentially go first. You're about a week ahead of History 108 in terms of completing the podcast assignments. So let me quickly go ahead and show you how to get into the History Podcast Journal section. So let's go ahead and click the tool link right here on the left, and then we'll enter History Podcast Journal. So once you do that, click History Podcast Journal, and here's what you have to see. All right, so for those of you in History 109, your due dates for your podcasts are on a weekly basis on Thursdays. There is one minor exception in that your first podcast due date is on a Wednesday, February 3rd. But everything else since then, after that, from February 4th all the way down to May 26th. Those are Thursdays. So every Thursday you submit your answers. You submit your podcast journal entries, and to do that, to put your entries, all you have to do is click here, click create journal entry, and then type in your answers. Now, in terms of what you have to do for your podcast journals, is that you've got a series of study questions. Study questions are pertain to each successive podcast. And to access those study questions, what you need to do, and again, this is for those of you in History 109, History 108, I'll show you where your questions are in just a second. But for History 109, all you need to do is go into Assignments. Okay, I'm sorry, everybody, wrong section. Go into Go into course documents. Okay, go into course documents and then hit the podcast study questions folder right here. And here are your various podcast study questions. So when you listen to each podcast, make sure you open these up so you know what questions, what topics you'll be looking out for as you listen to each podcast. So, for example, let's say that you're getting ready to submit journal entry 2 on Reconstruction. All you need to do is click this, and then here are your study questions. So listen to the podcast by Professor Richard Moss. I'll talk more about Professor Moss in just a bit. Listen to this. Answer these questions here, and then these questions that you answer, you type your answers, and again, you have to go back into the History Podcast Journal section, and we'll click here one more time. So when you're ready to write your answers for entry 2, again, just click Create Journal Entry, write your answers, and you're good to go. So that Reconstruction one is due on Thursday, February 4th. It's going to be worth 6 points. The totality of your entries for the entire semester will be 100 points. And again, for those of you in History 109, all your due dates are on Thursdays, starting next Thursday, February 4th, except for entry 1. Entry 1 is due on Wednesday the 3rd, but everything else after that will be on Thursdays all the way to the end of the semester. And again, to get your questions, History 109 people, go into course documents and click and then open up the folder that says podcast study questions. Okay, that's for History 109. History 108, you're a little bit different. You're a little bit different in that you have a little bit of a smaller number of entries to complete compared to History 109. But the format and the setup is just the same. So for those in History 108, click History Podcast Journals, click Podcast Journal Entries. Okay, and then when you're ready to write your answers to your successive entries, and you have 14 to complete over the course of the semester. When you're ready to complete your entries, click Create Journal Entry, and then just write your answers. The point totals are a little bit different here because since you have a bit of a smaller number of entries to complete compared to History 109, the point total is a little bit different. And the other main thing to keep in mind is that while History 109's due dates are on Thursdays, those in History 108, your due dates are on Wednesdays. So starting on Wednesday, February 10th, that's your first your first due date. You're going to submit your answers to the podcast called 1491 to 1493, The Age of Discovery and Exploration. And to find your study questions, you actually have your own separate tool link right here in Blackboard. So click Podcast Study Questions, and then click Podcast Journal 1. And here is where all your questions come out. Please disregard any dates that may appear here. Some of these dates were carried over from previous semesters, so I will go into Blackboard and clear up any lingering information, any lingering dates from previous semesters that might cause you confusion. So again, just disregard the dates that I have listed here. The main dates, of course, that you have to look at are the dates listed in the History Podcast Journals section, and of course in the syllabus as well, syllabus and schedule. So you can definitely consult the syllabus and schedule to see the respective due dates. So for those of History 108, here are your questions that you have to answer when you work on entry 1 pertaining to this specific podcast about the age of discovery and exploration. So just to wrap things up in terms of the typing in your answers. History 109, the format is essentially the same, but just the main thing to keep in mind is that History 109, your due dates are on Thursdays, except for entry 1, which is on a Wednesday, whereas History 108, all your due dates are on Wednesdays. But again, no matter which class you're in, just go into the syllabus or in the History Podcast Journal sections. And let me go back one more time for those in History 108. Go back here for the specific due dates. So the due dates that are listed here in this section, and of course in the syllabus and schedule, those are the important due dates that you have to keep in mind. All right, so that's how you how you put in your entries. And when you type in your answers, please type in directly into directly into Blackboard. Please do not send any attachments. If you post any attachments with your answers, I will not grade them. I will not look at them. I will ask you to rewrite your answers directly into Blackboard. So please, no attachments. Don't give me any files in Word or Pages or PDF format. Save that for your writing assignments, of course, which are of course listed here in assignments, whether it's for 108 or for the 109 class. But for your podcast journal entries, just type your answers into Blackboard. Make sure you hit create journal entry when you're ready to get going. You're good to go. And after you complete each entry, I will give you not only your points, but feedback as well. I will tell you what you need to improve on, what you should have addressed. But by and large, I will essentially say, great job. I like the points you made here. What Moss is saying here definitely pertains to what's happening with the current election. A lot of things that were happening back in those days have a lot of continuity with what people like Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, Marco Rubio, Rand Paul, Chris Christie are talking about, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. Excuse me. Okay, so there have everybody. So that's how you type in your entries. Now let's go ahead and figure out what exactly it is you have to listen to. So to do that, everybody, let me just move the Safari browser down a bit, and let me go ahead and open up iTunes. So at this point in time, you need to make sure that you have access to iTunes. So whether you have iTunes on your computer, whether it's a laptop or a desktop or your tablets, just have iTunes in some form or another. And then what you need to do once you're in iTunes is you want to go to the iTunes U section. So I think to do that, and I think we'll go over to these dots right here to the options. Let's go ahead and click on iTunes U. And let's go ahead and pick up from here. All right, now the podcasts you're going to be listening to are from Professor Richard Moss, who's out of a school in Pennsylvania, Harrisburg Area Community College, and his podcasts are very, very very clear. They're crisp. He has a lot of humor. He does a great job of connecting issues, especially early American issues to modern times, and he provides excellent anecdotal evidence to make the topics quite relevant, quite intriguing. It doesn't matter which area it is, whether it's modern or early. So to do that, we have to remember, of course, that the numbers for his classes in Pennsylvania are different than the numbers here. So for those of you in History 108 class, I'll start with you guys first. What you need to do is click History 103. So History 103 at that school in Pennsylvania is the equivalent to History 108 here. So let me go ahead and click enter. And here we go. All right, so History 103, History of the United States 1 by Dr. Richard Moss. These are the podcasts that you need to listen to. Again, this is for those of you in the 108 class. So let's go ahead and click the HACC icon. And here we have all of the podcasts. Here we go. That's all we need to do. So you can listen to the podcast directly from here just by clicking the play button, or you can download the podcast and hear them later. Just click get, and it'll download directly to your device. Again, whether you're using a computer or a or a tablet, or even your mobile device, your smartphone, your iPhone, your Samsung Galaxy, whatever device you're using. The range in the podcasts vary quite a bit. By and large, the average is about 25, 26 minutes. Some go a little bit longer than that, but for the most part, the majority of these podcasts clock in at about half hour or a little bit less than half hour. So here's what you'll have to listen to, History 108, for the entirety of the semester. And again, your first due date is coming up around February 10th. That's when you have to start typing in your answer. So again, for those of you in History 108, just go into the iTunes U section and enter History 103. Look for the HACC icon, click that. You'll get access to all of this. Again, listen to it directly here from iTunes, or download them and listen to them later. So whatever the path you decide to go on, that's all you need to do. So again, this is for those of you in History 108. Now, for those of you in History 109, you have to look for History 104. So their History 104 class is equivalent to our History 109. So let's type in History 104 and let's see what results we get. Okay, here we go. We got the same thing here. So for those of you in History 109, make sure you click the HACC icon. All right, and here is all the podcasts you have to listen to for the entirety of the semester. The order is a little bit funky here. The numbers are off a little bit, so let me just invert the order here so it'll be easier to follow. Okay, so there we go. So from here all the way down, this is the order in which these podcasts were first released about 4 years ago. Starting with the introduction and then the reconstruction. These are the ones you have to listen to right off the bat. So for those of History 109, please listen to these two as soon as possible by about the end of the week or beginning of next week, so that by next week you can start to submit your answers for your first two entries. So again, my point is that for those in History 109, you have to get going a little bit earlier than those of you in History 108, because your due dates are coming up next week. So just be aware of that. History 109, you got a bit of a 1 week head start on History 108. But again, the principle is the same. For those of you in the 109 class, you can listen to the podcast directly by clicking the play button on the podcast you want to check out. Or you can just go ahead and click get, and they'll download to your device. Again, whatever device you're using, whether it's a desktop, laptop computer, mobile device, or even your smartphones. Okay, everyone, and with that, I think that pretty much covers it. So that's how you complete the History Podcast Journal section. So basically, there's two main steps to do. First, you have to go to iTunes to actually find the podcast, and then to type in your answers. Then you go over into the podcast History Podcast Journals section here. So again, for those of you in History 108, here is what your section looks like, and for those of you in History 109, here is what your section looks like. All right, so I hope this helps. I'll go into the section here and clear up any information that might be left over from previous semesters, so as not to create any type of confusion. This week I'm definitely using to do some more cleanup. Much like the people in New York cleaning out from the blizzard. I guess in a way I'm doing my own type of cleanup. But unlike them, where they have to do a lot of work, here is just some minor cleaning up here, sort of like cleaning up the garden. Picking up the weeds, trimming the trees, and watering the lawn, and all of that fun stuff. All right, everyone. So that's it. That's History Podcast Journals journal portion for both the 108 and the 109 classes. Again, your due dates are listed right here in your respective History Podcast Journal sections, and of course, consult the syllabus and schedule for those dates as well. All right, well, I've got a lot more videos coming up on the horizon for both of you, for both sections, and like I said, my introduction video, and these videos will run quite lengthy, but that's because I want to make sure that there's no confusion or misunderstanding. I want to try to give as much detail as possible so that you know exactly what you need to do for the rest of the semester. All right, everyone, that's it for me. That's it for El Profesor for now, but I'll definitely be back again very soon with some more of these nuts and bolts videos. All right, everyone, you guys take care, and I'll talk to you guys again very, very soon.